happy day after New Year's. Hopefully you guys all had a lovely New Year's and you are ready to settle down, pull out your pens and pencils, desktops and keyboards and coding format, and get to class ASAP. Now, we do have my lovely, lovely co-host here with us today. Shane, would you like to say hello to the fine folks here today?
Hello, people.
Yeah. One more time just so that they know you're not dead.
Hello out there. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So Shane is not dying on the side of a road. He is home, deathly ill and trying to recovering. But as a diligent student, he still showed up to class, and so I am so proud. So students, take your seats, and pull out your notebooks. Today, Miss Elizabeth, your pink professor of the day, and your fearless dean is here to educate you.
Hold on, I have a story real quick.
Oh, you want to talk? Okay, good.
Yeah, I see Skyocha says about the New Year zombie. And I was doing my home health. Yeah, I was going to people's houses today because, of course, I was. So I am down in Martindale, Texas, and they are currently filming the new season of Fear the Walking Dead at the local library there. And I was driving by as they were doing some setup, and it looks beyond creepy out there, speaking of zombies. So that's my zombie story for today. Hi, everybody. Yeah.
Good. That's your dean, Shane Swelker 101, vote his witness, telling you a death story about zombies because he basically was one today, which is great. Poor Shane. Oh gosh. All right, Shane. Feel free to chime in at any point, but I won't hold you to it because you sound like you're dying on the side of a road, but I hope you're home resting. For the rest of you young folks, if you are watching or listening on Discord, you might want to hop over and watch on Twitch on different portions of this because today during Minnow University, we will be talking and demonstrating different aspects of formatting. As you know, Shane started this project in order to, as a support for his witness, he wanted to go out and help minnows learn the basics of Steemit. And so last week during our class session, we learned about wallets. We had the lovely Lena and the Chew Girl here talking a little bit about their experiences trainings with their thoughts on wallets, different things like that. You can check the recording on my page or follow Minnow University for all our posts there. Today, I thought that we would talk about formatting. And I pulled up a couple of examples for us to go through, some tricks, some hacks, what I use, what I've seen on the format, and take and leave what you guys like from it all.
Hey, I got a question.
Sure.
Why are we following Bucky? Even with as cool as my voice is right now, why are we following him? That's death.
Yeah, no, you're death. The rest of us are just hanging in there. I don't know. Some fool before me decided that this would be a great time to go on air. And so here we are in all that it is. But
Oh, I can't believe we got to follow that. Okay. I'm sorry.
yeah. Okay. Now, if you keep interrupting class, I will have to mute you. So don't make me send you off to bed or to the principal's office. Okay? Okay.
Sorry.
Bucky, you are awesome. It is tough to be able to follow your show, that is for sure. But we are here nonetheless. Thanks for trying to make us look so cool and getting us such a large audience for today's show. Thanks, guys, for all being here. I love to see all of you there. If you have any questions, any inputs, or recommendations throughout the show, please type them in chat. Just tag me because I am jumping back and forth from different screens, so that way I can scroll back up and see it. And Bucky, I love you too. You are a man with more talents than I can say in a few sentences, and I appreciate all that you do and all that you share with us. You're phenomenal, and your show is a huge hit, obviously. And so, as I was mentioning, today I would like to talk about formatting and formatting post. Now, I'm sure all of you are amazing writers, and everything you post on Steemit needs to be published and the world needs to see it. It's a shame you don't all go to the trending page when you get there. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm reading through posts, it is rather difficult to get from beginning to end due to some formatting. Now, words can be fun, words can be engaging, words can even be captivating, but there is nothing like poor formatting to steer the eye away from a post. Now, maybe some of you could agree or disagree, but today that's not the argument, it is the objective to success. We are attempting to format our post so that it enlightens what we are trying to say, it brings together our message, and it sends a clear direction of where your thought process went throughout it. And so, I have a couple of things that I wanted to share with y'all first in this little document that I have here. So give me just a second to pull it up. Talk amongst yourself about how much you love life and all that good stuff. Where did I put that little post of mine? Here we go. Helps if you have it in order, folks. And so I wanted to share an example of a post that I did, and it's formatting. Now, I don't know how some of you guys do your formatting. If you just go ahead, you type it in a Word document, if you do it on Steemit, copy and paste it, or how all of that looks like. I don't know what your thought process is, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what mine is. I know Shane mentioned he uses HackMD to type it out because you can do it side by side if you use HackMD. And I'll give you an example with this post that I wrote. I don't know how to do it to where you guys can't edit it, so do me a favor and don't edit it because that would be bad. Even though I already posted it, but still, I use it as a reference. So this is what I'm looking at if you guys want to take a look at it. I also have it up on the Twitch feed. And if you use HackMD, as you're typing, you'll notice that all the coding and things that you use on the left will reflect on the right. So it kind of gives you a gauge of what you're looking at. And, oh, someone just gave me a recommendation. Thank you, Marky Mark. I will present that at the end. So this is one way to do it if you're familiar with formatting and you just kind of type as you go and you can kind of visualize it as you go. But if you're not and you struggle with it, I would recommend you typing it out first and then going back and kind of playing with the formatting as you go. A lot of people have a couple of tabs put over for references. Other people have it memorized. I kind of use a little bit of both. And at the end of this session, or in the post that I'll make after this, recapping everything, I will have the links there for you with all the references that I talk about today. And before the show, I went through and I tried to see how many different Steemit blogs were out there about formatting. And there were a ton. And some were better than others. Others were worse than some. So as you will find, the longer that you're on the longer you're on the platform, the better you will get at finding these suggestion posts. But there are a few that I always go back to. And let me and this is the document that I'll be sharing you guys with all these details on there. And Marky Mark has one as well about with headers and everything. And his is actually an excellent example. I'll go ahead and show it as our first one because it looks very similar to the other ones that I had in place. So he calls his post Markdown One-on-One. And he kind of takes you through the basics of how to format your post. Now, if you look at his post, his is an excellent example of a formatted post that's easy on the eyes. And what that means, there's enough white space to keep you engaged and not some long text that kind of loses you before you even start reading. Because that first impression is what gets you the most. You don't want to just open it up and have this long text with no spacing, no formatting, no nothing, because you're quite quickly might turn away from it, even though the wording and what they have to say and the message may be really good. So headers. If you notice the first one, it's quite bold and it's pulled to the left. You guys may not know, but you can actually center that in the middle. And I'm sure he'll go into it a little, but you can actually create different sizes headers by putting the hashtag sign next to whatever wording you would like it to have. And then he kind of goes in how you can add spacing, how you can emphasize different things with different examples in his post as well. My favorite that I wish I used more often, but I don't, is this strike through here. I love it when people add that into their post. I think it's really funny with it. Lists are another great example on how to do it, on how to organize your post to look better. I don't think he goes into it here, but there's actually a way you can create a table so things kind of align side by side. It's a little bit trickier, and we won't be going that much advanced into formatting in this session, but that's something to consider. Everything that you guys want to do in a post, you most likely can. It's just going to take a little bit of practice and error. And I'll also show you that once you start formatting a post, sometimes things can get a little tricky and actually be an error, but that error turns out to be something really amazing. So once you figure out a code that you like for a certain formatting task, feel free to play with it and see how it looks on the Steemit blockchain, or on the Steemit pre-posting before posting. So what I mean is, like, I click the post button, I type something out, I'll put in a code, I'll see what it looks like, and I'll kind of play with it to see what it looks like before actually posting it on Steemit. This right here is probably one of my favorite, the imaging and the different options you have with images. Now, all these codes are not set in stone. There's different ways to play with them, different ways, different ones you can use. So when you're looking through this, make sure that you know that you don't have to memorize that particular one. There are other ones out there, but this is a good format for you. So thank you, Marky Mark, for sharing this with me. Oh, you do go into tables. Perfect. That is something you can do as well. I've never actually used a table in one of my posts. I've wanted to, but I can't seem to get it right. But maybe that's something I just have to practice a little bit more with. And if all things fail, guys, if you click this post button that I'm sure all of you have done one too many times, you can also click this editor option right here on the right hand side. By clicking that, it actually makes it a little bit easier for you to format because it gives you all the coding you need right there. Now, for some, they think this is phenomenal. It works great for them. I actually find this to be more confusing. I actually like doing it in this regular version and entering the codes myself. And so let's go back over here. Oh, geez, you guys are just going to town in chat. I have no idea what you kids are even saying. You could just be saying how much Shane sounds crazy. Now, there is one code above all else, if you ever look on my blog post, that I live by. I don't think I've ever created a single post without using it, and that's this one right here. And that one is for you to align pictures, and it says pull to the left, so obviously the image is going to pull to the left, but it can go to the right as well. And you start with it, but it has to end. Whenever you use that code, whatever image URL that you have, it has to end with this at the end of it, or else it won't work. Of course, I spelled image incorrectly. Forgive my English. It's only my first language. But in any case, that is one that I use for every single one of my posts. And I wish that more people used it because they always put that big picture in there. And I always think to myself, it would look so much nicer if the words just flew off to the side of it, or it was justified to the side of it. And so that one's one that I use for all my posts. That one in the center is one that I highly, highly recommend. Because whenever you're trying to go from one thought to the process to the other, adding a picture really helps break that up. Adding a header and making it center really helps that flow of the post look really well. And so if you are uncomfortable with writing it on Steemit because you don't like the way it's set up, you can have it side by side like this by using HackMD and entering the code so you can kind of see what it looks like. Then you can copy and paste and put it on Steemit as well and see how that looks as well. If you have Google and you download the extension, you can actually have it to where when it's while you're typing, it will show side by side like HackMD as well. Now, some of the codes don't work, and so I turned it off because even though the codes are correct, it doesn't always appear, and it gets really frustrating, kind of like that meme right there. Excellent, Menno. I'm so proud. And if you want to see what the final product looked like with that HackMD that I sent you, that is what it looks like all set and done. Now, if you look at it, the first image is really popped up. I don't have anything to the side of it, but there's enough white space around it that it doesn't give the impression that it's the only image there occupying everything. What I mean by that is a lot of times you have pictures there that feels like it needs more explanation around it. And I find that this one doesn't because there's no backspace to it. Later on in the show, we'll also talk about free imaging. And so a lot of people on here will offer free Signatures will offer free pictures, will offer different things. Take advantage of all of those because the more imagery that you can add in addition to the words that you use, the overall appearance of your post will be significantly better. And as you can see here, the whole thing is centered. Some of it is bolded for it. Okay, my love, I'm on the air. My niece is telling me that it's dinner time. I will be there after, I promise. She's adorable. And so there's different codings here. So if you were curious to see what that all looked like after formatting, you can look at it as well. Later on, I'll also show you how there's certain images that you can add that when you click on it, it goes to a different source. So for example, the one that I sent you, the 2 images towards the bottom, if you click on it, will actually send you an invite to MSP Pal, which I think is pretty cool. Alrighty, so that is kind of quick overview of what all a post looks like when you're adding a whole bunch of formatting. And obviously without it, it would just be a long text. And so I wanted to give you an example of if you were to use all the formatting known to man, what it potentially could look like. And so this is one of the posts that I am quite proud of that I had done when I applied to be a moderator. And I spent quite a bit of time not only writing, but making sure that it was visually appealing for it. Again, I had that single image centered in the middle for it. And then I allowed the text underneath it to kind of wrap around the image. Now that first code that I shared with you is one that I used to pull to the left. And then I kind of allowed the text to go as well, kind of go along with it until the very end. And then I went ahead and inserted another image right there in the middle, centered that as well. So you're kind of always centered aligned with the imagery that goes along with it. And then you'll notice that there's a little bird flying across my screen, and you may be wondering, what the heck is that? That, my friends,
Hey,
is...
Kubi, what is a bird?
What is a bird?
I'm looking for. Oh, there's the bird.
There's the word. Yeah, sorry, I
I
forgot
see
to
it.
change it. Yeah, I forgot that I didn't change the screen on there. But yeah, so there's a little bird in the middle of that, and that is called a banner. And there's quite a few free ones that you can utilize. And I will, again, at the end of this, when I'm wrapping up all my suggestions and comments, I will put the link of a couple of places that you can go and select free banners to put on your post. Now, keep in mind, these are GIFs or images. So if you put them at the very beginning of your post, it will be that first image that people see. So always make sure you put another image in front of it, or else that's all that's going to be appearing on there. But on here, you can kind of see some other formatting that I've utilized with my post. And you'll notice that there's a long line of text here and there's no images, and it kind of takes up the entire picture. I'm a big component and believer that if you go a paragraph or so of long text without images, without any formatting or anything included in it, doesn't necessarily make it bad or make it poor or take away from your writing. I just think that if it continues throughout all that, you will lose a lot of readers and they won't finish through the end. As you can see, the very next thing on here is a header that I have, and it's bolded, but it's not centered, and that was purposely done to kind of break up the formatting from what was behind it, what was before it. But there are 2 different banners. There's the bird flying across it, and there's this like weird guy hanging with the eyes moving that I think engages readers to kind of break up from all the wording that's there, but yet encourage them to keep reading whatever I have to say. And then this time you'll notice that the image is on the right and not on the left of the picture. And again, it's that same code in the beginning that I showed you, but instead of it saying pull to the left, it's pull to the right. And so what I do is on the side of my computer, I have a little sticky note with that code, and I just kind of pop it in there and just change left or right for it. And then in the text itself, you'll notice that sometimes it has this line and the words are kind of graded. I'll show you how to do that as well. That's very simple. Believe it or not, if you just add this little thing and words, it does that as well. And then you'll see that Team Girl Power is bolded. That is very simple to use as well, and you can even do it here.
Miss Elizabeth, I have a question.
Yeah.
Stormwriter Studio is saying that he missed something. How do you do the line down the left? Is that code or quote tag?
Down the left. I think I missed something. How do you do the line? Oh, I think that's what I was just talking about. So if you are talking Let me cut this. About this right here. Let's post that into chat. If that's what you're talking about, this is how you do that. I offer this community. And that's how you make that look like that in any portion of it. And you can even make that bolded by adding a hashtag after that first less than sign for it. There's lots of little different things like that you can do. Also, if you add 2 little asterisks above it, you can, above it and, I'm sorry, before it and after it, you can also make it bold as well. And if you add just 1 asterisk, you can make it italicized. Again, in Marky Mark's post that he did, it goes through how to do these individual formatting tools as well. Thank you for asking that question, Shane. I missed it. And let me know, guys, if you have any questions. Just tag me so I can see it.
Marky Mark.
No. Absolutely not. We're going to move on from that.
But it's a Clinton impersonation.
No.
I'm sorry, Mark. I tried.
Unbelievable. Mark, you're like that clown in the back of the classroom who's like, oh my gosh, we talk so much. I just want to play with my friends and throw spitballs at everyone. Unbelievable. Yeah, no. Moving on. Yeah. And so, anyways, so again, you can go through the entire post, ask me any questions that you have with it. And at the very end of the post, you'll notice that I have my signature there with the bird flying across it again. And there's actually another line there as well. Now, normally you don't want to have 3 breakers like that at the very end because it can be a bit much. However, the banner is continuously moving. And so oh my gosh, can I kick Scaredy Cat out of class? I think that I can. Let me just push a couple buttons here. Behave, children. Sit down. Be humble. Unbelievable. Normally I wouldn't recommend putting so many different banners at the end of your post. However, the banner that's almost a clear line to where you can't see it because it's graded, ends the text from blending in with the banner. And then the banner, I think, just adds and matches the color of my signature. So that was my thought process in adding that, and I thought it was a nice touch for it. But that is one of the examples of how a post can look if you add a whole bunch of formatting in it. And I think it helps you kind of skim through it if you're just trying to get the basic concept. If you're reading throughout, it does not bore you because it's just not a long line of text with it. Now, I wanted to show you something else that can happen. Let's see, what is this? Now, I wanted to show you an example of what it looks like if you add too much to a post, which you may get a little excited like I do with all the free signatures that I get from friends, and you may just want to add all of them at the very bottom. And so if you run over to Twitch, I'm going to go ahead and send this over there. This is another one where I had centered and bolded all of the main headers. And this isn't necessarily a formatting thing, but if you put the @ sign and you write anyone's name, it automatically tags it to their blog post. So if you were to write, like for this example, I was thanking him for sending me this lovely stylist that he was sending me all the way from Australia. So I tagged his blog name. And if you click on that, it goes to his page. All you need is that little @ sign behind it. Now here you'll notice that I have 3 signatures at the end of mine, and all 3 of them are GIFs and moving, and one is significantly larger than the other. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a little bit obsessed with pink. And so I don't recommend doing this as often as I used to because it can be overwhelming and a bit of a turn off, especially if it's at the very beginning or constant throughout your entire blog post. I always kind of spam it at the very end, include the PalNet with it. Doesn't always match, isn't always really beautiful or aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Nonetheless, it is there. There's just an example of things that I wouldn't recommend doing, but I have done in the past. Back to it.
Kobe, I am back for your entertainment.
Oh my gosh, are you gonna say it? Because I'm gonna be so upset.
Well, no, I just lit up a Cuban cigar. No reason to say anything.
Good. Yes. I'm just kind of upset that you didn't bring enough for everyone in the crowd. Obviously. Oh my gosh, Menno, what is that? The kids are acting a little crazy. It's unbelievable. So that's cool. No worries. All right. So this next example that I wanted to show you is you might have remembered in the beginning when I talked about playing with coding and how sometimes the codes may not work exactly how you want them to, but they may work out well in your favor. So normally when I have a big picture like this, that's a vertical picture, I always recommend you using that pull to the left or pull to the right and allow the text around it to support the image. But this was for a contest, and the contest was photo manipulation, and so the whole point of the post was this picture, so I wanted it to be as large as possible. However, just below that, you will notice that I did, and Shane, I think you're watching on Twitch, so let me know if you can see this clearly if I need to move it further up or
I'm
down.
not. I don't have Twitch up. No.
Okay, good. I'm so glad that I have your help here today. So helpful. Okay, cool. I'm going to double check that you can see it on Twitch, which you can. Perfect. Um, and so that same coding that I shared with you earlier divided my pictures because they were the format size that I used was smaller. It actually split the image and allowed the text to fall in between. Now there isn't a code to where you can actually do this with just one code. This is two different codes that I used, but for some reason I couldn't get them to stay together. They split and the words were falling in the middle and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. And so I just let it happen. But sometimes mistakes are a good thing, and sometimes when codes don't work in your favor, it ends up coming with something that's unique and different. And this is probably one of my favorite mistakes that I've ever done with having the pictures pulled to the side like that and having the text fall in the middle. I haven't seen anyone else do anything like it, and I wish more people did because I think poems, especially, people have a tendency of centering all of them, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if they had two images on the side, I think it would add that extra emphasis to the overall look of your post. And so that's something to consider as well. How you hanging in there, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How
Yeah?
are you? I'm doing all right.
I think most
You
people are
know,
here just to hear you talk. I mean, I just
I know. You can put wings on a pig, but you don't make it an eagle.
good. That was helpful. And then there was, here we go. And in case some of you didn't know, if you go to the frequently asked questions page on Steemit itself, you can actually get all of these codes broken down for you there as well. And then they also have a link to a markdown cheat sheet, which kind of breaks it down for everything that you're doing. So if you want lists, if you want links, images, highlighting, anything like that, anything that we've talked about today, there are several sources out there that can kind of help you explain. I know in the beginning I did lots of random Google search looking for anything to help me explain, but there was some that were easier to follow than others. Some codes didn't work and others didn't, even though it was all telling me the same thing. For some reason, ones worked better than others. So if that's the case for you, fear not, it is normal. Some things will just work better for you in certain instances than not. So you can try the frequently asked questions, you can try marking marks, you can try all the other ones that I will send you. Let me know which one works best for you so I can recommend accordingly. When I first started on Steemit, this is one of the first posts that I found that really helped me learn Markdown. Unfortunately, you can't just copy and paste, and sometimes the coding didn't work out really well for whatever reason. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't, but it really did an excellent job of breaking down all the options that I had, so I knew if I wanted to do it, at least it was an option for me. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is, if you're looking at this post, is keep moving down, is the markdown formats on how to italicize, italicize and bold, or strike through, or kind of play with different things. Now, I won't lie to you, the last two of these markdowns I've never used, which is the superscript or having it to the power of. So you can see the 3, the power of 2. I've never done anything like that. But it is an option if for whatever reason you are doing a post that requires you to have these things. That is something for you to consider as well. And sometimes I wish I had this post open so I can kind of play with these and see what kind of crazy things I can put while telling a story or something, but I never think of it until after. But just know that is an option for you to use. Now, one of my favorite things to do is this next option where it has links. I do this all the time. You may notice on some of my posts, especially for the MSP Waves announcements, I always like to write, you can join us by clicking here. And when I say clicking here, the here is in blue, kind of how this one is in Steemit, to where you can click on it and it takes you somewhere. This is so easy to do. All you need is 2 brackets and 2 parentheses, and boom, it's magical. I love this. Whenever you're referencing anything, whenever you're trying to put or reference an older post, reference someone else's post, reference someone's blog post or anything like that, this goes a long way. It is kind of messy when you're writing it and how it looks with your other text, so it can kind of be confusing that way. But once it's posted on Steemit, it looks phenomenal. So if you take anything away from this class, it's the pull left or right and how to put a link within wording. Goes a long way. All of you kids should use it, especially if recently you've written a book or an ebook and you want it to be tagged to a particular website. It would behoove you to use something like this, and it would make your post look so much better versus just having the link there for people to click on. Does it do the same thing? Yes, it does. Does it look a whole lot better? Yes. You've been on the platform for a while now. Step up your posting game. Just saying. And I think the person got the message. Very good. All right, and then if you keep going down, there are more options for you to do with pictures as well. Now, everyone has at least one picture in their post, whether it's at the very beginning to kind of attract more readers or if it's at the middle of it, whatever. You know that whatever picture you put on there will be the first thing they choose. But there are different things that can be used for your post to emphasize the picture. Now, I mentioned the pull left or pull right that we currently have, but there are some other really cool things that you can do as well. I don't know if you've ever noticed people who put an image and then they put a source link right under it. That is something that I have recently attempted to utilize and do myself. It is a lot harder than it sounds. It's something that you have to kind of play with to get it right, but it is an option for you. Let me show you this picture here. So you'll notice there that that picture not only is centered, but there's a source below it, and there's a coding that you can use below it too. Now, if you're looking at the code, it kind of scares you a little bit because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. Well, if you are putting a post up and you've put in a picture, you'll notice that there's certain things behind it and certain things in front of it that isn't necessary, needs to be there. If you start playing with it and deleting some stuff, you'll notice that the image will still stay there, but the words will appear as of the title of the picture that you're putting there. Now, if that makes no sense to you, just completely ignore it. Just post the picture as is. But if you understand that the title of the picture that you've selected comes before in that same code, if you delete that coding and add center before and after it, or you add some of this, that's how you manipulate it to go one way or another. And if you add even more coding onto that, you can figure out how to put that clickable link underneath it. Now, it does take some practice. You have to play with it a little bit. I always go to Discordiant or someone that has done it before and ask them how they do it and try to copy and paste it and then just remove their URL with the picture and put my own is kind of a safe bet. So if someone has a workable code that you can just copy and paste would be the easiest one. But if you're trying to figure it out on your own, this is one that you can definitely play with. Now you'll notice in this one the spacing might be off or there may be some extra things in there that you don't want. That's okay too. all is fair game. That's the fun part about this, is playing with it. And once you figure it out once, you can kind of save it in a Google Doc or save it in a HackMD and just kind of use it every single time that you need to. Copy and paste it onto Steemit and then delete it from the HackMD and start over with it. So take a look at this post. This is one that when I first started, I used a ton. And I would pick one thing that I really, really liked, and I would kind of go from there. And I would use it over and over again until I kind of understood how the coding worked. And then I would try to add other things to it. Now, to me, the best part about writing on Steemit is the formatting. That is what I have the most fun with. The ideas and the writing I have there, I have it edited, but truly the best part for me is formatting it and making it aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Now, you want to think of it as a book. When you go to read a book, there's certain novels that regardless of what it looks like, the story is the most engaging part. However, not everyone will read a novel if the front cover isn't the most appealing thing. So with Steemit, you kind of have to look at it the same way. You want that first impression of when people lay eyes on it, they're captivated by that caption or that title that you have. But when they look at it, it's not just this long, boring, what's the word I'm looking for? Block of text, but it's split up to where your eyes engaged. And even if you're not following their train of thought or you're not completely interested in what they're saying, you're still engaged because there's other things that captivate your attention and keep you going. Now you'll notice at the bottom of this post as well, it has 30 free text dividers. Just copy and paste. If you click this magical link, there are all the banners I was telling you about. So let me post that in here for you kiddos.
Miss Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Mark wanted you to remember you also have the sub on top of the superior. So you know how you had the 3 to the power of 2.
Mm-hmm.
You could also do a sub for citing references.
I didn't know that. That is interesting as well. I've never had any success using the sub, but that is something that you can do as well. And again, play with it, see if it works for you, see if it's something that it's easy for you to understand. The subs I don't have success with, but if it works for you, mazel tov, use it. If you struggle with it, use something else until you can figure out how to make it work. There's, like I said, for everything that you want to do, there's lots of codes that you can use in order to make it work. Sub works for Marky Mark. I've never had success using sub to make it work. I have used it in the past, but someone gave me the code embedded already for it to work. So play with it and see what happens and see if it works
I
for you.
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Okay. All right. So
I'm sorry, Scaredy was leaving, so I thought I'd throw that in there.
all right. Well, I have no other choice then, Mr. Dean, than to send you off to detention. So off you go. You can go listen with the rest of the folks since you won't listen. And Scaredy Cat, that just really upset me. So that sucks. I could just cancel this whole class and just tell you guys to go kick rocks. But we will move on. We'll get over it. So next thing we do. So if you look at the banners that I have on here, they're all images that they have created that you can just copy and paste. That there's different ones. There's others out there on Steemit that you can find that actually move, which I think is a ton of fun to add onto your blog post. Now you can have the ones that are standstill, and you can even add codes to this because it is an image. So you can center it, you can have it pulled to the left, you can actually put it more than once so it's continuous. So some of the smaller ones, let's see if I can find an example. I don't think they have any here. Oh yes, there's one towards the bottom. You see how this one is shorter than all the other ones? You can actually copy and paste and put 2 of these side by side and make it one long one because it kind of connects. One that I've used before are these at the bottoms as text dividers. Now these are just different things on the keyboard that they have done. So this one with the hearts I've used before, where I'll just copy and paste it and make it one long banner, which is really, really cool. So I've done that before. And so I would recommend you guys try it and see what you think. Let me know what struggles you have. Let me know what questions you guys have while doing this. You can always DM me and we can do a shared Google Doc, and I can kind of take a look and help you with different things and different codings and give you my comments and recommendations with it. Again, you have a ton of options to do with this. There are a ton of resources on there. I will have that summarized at the end of this show. I will put something together and you can find it on the Minnow University with all my recommendations and cheat sheets for all the codings that you can find. And again, you can always just ask me as well. Another one that one of our lovely guest hosts who's here today, I don't actually know how to say your name. Skoshi? I really appreciate you being here today. I am so grateful that you are. I know that you have spent quite a bit of time on the platform teaching various people different things and answering a ton of questions on Steemit chat. And so I'm really, really grateful that you're here. One of the posts that they had sent me with some links as well is this one that I found to be extremely helpful. And if you go to the Minnow University Discord, I do have that there for one of the formatting as well. And they kind of give you a snapshot example of what it could look like. And then if you click on the Google Docs, it has it there as well. Yes, you. Sorry, I missaid your name. It was pretty bad. But I love you dearly, and I'm so grateful that you're here. It is a huge honor to have you in the audience. As it is to have most of you all here, thank you so much for all being here and listening. I know this can kind of seem overwhelming and like a lot of information is being thrown at you. It's kind of hard to break up formatting without giving you an example, but I wanted to show you as much as possible that you can and give you all the resources that you need. So that way, the next time you're writing a post, you'll take a little bit more time to move things left or right, play with how it looks, and just keep in mind that what you have to say is extremely important, and what it looks like when you say it is just as important, because sometimes the information you have to share is pertinent for everyone to know, but how you say it can turn a lot of people off. Now, you're not going to be perfect each time. You're not going to be able to win everyone, but attempting to do it and doing the best that you can by mixing up that message with the formatting tools is ideal. And these are two codes that I use quite often to, let me actually show you what this looks like on my screen. So if you are watching on Twitch, or later if you're watching this video to kind of remember some of the coding that we had done, I'm posting a code in Steemit post, and it has the pull right that I had told you about. It has an image, and then it has, and it's even centered. So you're like, what the heck? How can you have something pulled to the left, pulled to the right, and it be centered? Well, the image itself, I wanted it to be pulled to the right of my screen. As you can see here, let me minimize this just a smidge and see what you guys are looking at. As you can see, the image is pulled all the way to the right. And just underneath that image is the name of the artist. And I wanted to make sure that that was clickable. So that is the coding, and that's an example of what it would look like if you were to use it. And you can obviously make the name a little bit bigger. So what Mark was talking about before, using the subs, this one actually has, I believe it does have, this one doesn't, but I do have another coding that I'll put with the summary of this, that you can make the wording at the bottom larger or smaller as well. And that's an option for you as well. So this is kind of an example of what it would look like. You can have it pulled to the left, pull it to the right. I kind of like it that it's centered right under the image, and that can be really tough to do as well. Well, there you go. Someone added it in there with the subs and everything. Excellent level up, I think, there, my friend. Thank you so much for helping me while I do this for it. So that is one that I have recently been playing with and been trying to add more to my post. I have become more comfortable with not using it because like I said, I use the pull left and pull right so much that I forget that there are other codes out there to play with until I need it. Like I want to source this picture specifically to someone, or I want to add a certain link just below to encourage or change things up a little, which doesn't happen very often recently. But every once in a while, when it does, then I think to it and I have to ask for help because there's always someone who's played with it a little while longer. And I wanted to share this link with you guys as well. One of our wonderful Steemit users, who's usually roaming around somewhere, has offered to make free banners or signatures, have you, for different people. And what I love about this is there's several people out there who has done this before, and some people don't take advantage of these things that they offer, and it can be a fun way to end or mix up your post throughout it. I'm going to go ahead and share screen with you so you can kind of see his post while looking at it of what it looks like with it. Now, obviously, he was kind enough to make me two. One with my name Cubby Elizabeth and one with Pink Guardian. As you know, when I am not teaching a class, I am the pink mod who guards all things sacred to the pink and make sure to put a lovely smile on your face whenever I can. So that was really sweet of him to do that, and I have added some of that to my post as well. One that I think is phenomenal is the one he did for Roguebot. That one just looks bad. And I love it. I think it's the coolest thing ever. But there's different formatting that you can do, and you actually can do this yourself with a Word doc. You can make it an image and add it on there as well. But he was kind enough to give us a couple of examples and share it. So if you find him on Discord and you would like him to make you one for yourself, do not hesitate to ask. He has a ton out there, and he's very willing to make you one. And it's an excellent addition to have at the end of your post as well. The cool thing about his post that I wanted to show you is he has a couple of GIFs at the end. So he has the Minnow support link, which if you click on it will give you an invite. He has a Merry Christmas from him. And he also has a moving GIF, which I think is really, really cool, where it says, Resteem, follow, upvote. I think everyone has a different version that they use. Some people have artworks that people have made for them of self-portraits. Some people have their name. Some people have their signature. As our lovely friend here is saying, save yourself some time, save a template. I have a cheat sheet that I use on my Google Docs where I call it my Steemit cheat sheet, and it has all these codes on there, so that way I can just copy and paste all my signatures. I have a folder with all the different types of Cubby Elizabeth signatures that people have made me over the time that I have been here that I use quite often, quite a bit of it all. And so what I wanted to show you guys lastly before ending this session is this Google Doc. So this is a post that I have written, and the lovely Lena had made some notes for me that I had already gone through and accepted. So I recommend that if you guys don't have a Google account, that you make one. It's free. And what this allows you to do is you can type up a Word document, or any document for that matter, and you can submit it to the spelling and grammar channel that we have here. The lovely Lena volunteers there, and we'll check it for spelling and grammar. And then you can go through and add or delete her suggestions for it. But what it also allows you to do is she's kind enough to where you can add your formatting, which you can see I already have some here, onto the text and edit around it. So what I'll do first is I will actually type up a post on Steemit, and then I will copy and paste it onto the Google Doc and then submit it for her to edit. That way when she's done, I go through it, I make some last minute changes, and then I just scroll down and you can see that the formatting is there. It's ready to be posted, which is really cool. And it has all the things that we talked about. It has the picture that's pulled to the left. It has the name of a post that I was recommending with, if you click on it, it directs you there. It has that spacing with it. Now you'll notice that although this sentence ends here, you could probably add some more words and finish it off. So if you ever finish a line of text and you want it to be in line with the picture, if you add these three buttons right here, boom, it will put a semi-invisible or graded line just under it that cuts it off and gives it that kind of nice clean look right there to where it's kind of one big block. Sometimes I'll put that above and before it, so that way the title and the intro don't go into the picture, and it kind of looks really neat like that. And then again, usually I will have one picture aligned, a group of text, and then a block of text as well. Now, very rarely will I have two blocks of text, like this one that you see at the top, and another one at the bottom without any imagery. Now, everyone has their own preferences and choices, and it's completely up to you what you decide to do. For this one, I was quoting someone, and so I just decided to leave it there. But usually I will have it another picture aligned somewhere there, or something to break it up, maybe another moving banner or something, another image, something to kind of keep it more engaging. And then I added a YouTube mini clip of the Chatterbox session that we did yesterday. And then some more line text. And then at the very end, I have one header. And then I don't know why it's not showing you. Oopsies. But at the bottom, I have, oh, I guess I have to zoom in. I have one signature that I use. I don't know why it's acting weird, but there it is. Oh, I kicked him out, Ron, because he was misbehaving, and I got really upset of what he said, because it's inappropriate. But it is what it is. It happened. So, that is what I have for you folks today. I hope that you enjoyed. Now, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or you would like me to walk you through some more steps with you, or if you have any questions, that would be phenomenal. Yes, I would love it if you came on air with me and shared your thoughts or recommendations for new users when creating posts, things you have seen that you liked, things that you consistently see that you wish was different. I don't know if there is a markup to change text color. That is a good question. That is not one that I've seen anywhere that can be done. I haven't seen different colored text, but that may be something that is an option. So let me see if I can get you to come on air. Marky Mark says there isn't a way to change the text, but it would be cool if there was. All right, so let me pull you in and see if I can't get you to come chat with me. Hang on just a second. Live on air. And my dear, you are muted. Okay. And whenever you are ready, come on, darling.
Hello.
Hello. How are ya?
I'm scared that they gave me a microphone.
No, you shouldn't be scared. You're basically a pro at this. You had your own podcast for what, a year?
A year.
That's phenomenal. So for those of you who don't know, why don't you introduce yourself to the world?
I'm Psycho Chica. I've been here for what feels like forever. Co-hosted Steemit Talk podcast for a year. Ran from July of 2016 to July of 2017. And right after that is when all these other great radio shows came out. So I don't have to work anymore. It's great.
Well, I actually listened to your show a couple of times, the last couple of sessions before it stopped airing, unfortunately. Here is your Steemit account. Follow it. Be addicted to it. Don't ever leave it. It is phenomenal. And I love it on your post. You actually do something that I wanted to mention that I've seen quite a few people do. And that is at the end of your post, you will actually put links to some of your previous posts, which I love it when people do that, because sometimes I'll miss it, or I'm looking for something and I can't find it, and I know you wrote it and it's just not coming back to me. But when you have it at the very end, it really helps everyone out. And one of these random posts that I just clicked of you is a perfect example. You have an image, you have banners, you have a graph, you have things centered and bolded. Like, what a beautifully well formatted post you got going on here.
One real quick thing that I didn't hear you touch on is one of the things I always preached is we all know we live in an attention economy here. It's really hard to keep someone engaged in your post for a long period of time. So a lot of times I actually will purposely set things up with my headings, with my bolds, with my pictures, knowing that after the first paragraph or two, they're just going to skim it. So I try and set it up specifically so when that happens, they still get my point.
That is an excellent point, and I think that probably wraps up everything that I've been trying to say here tonight. Because people that have really long posts that aren't engaging or have images or banners to break it up, it can be extremely difficult to finish all the way through. So, especially with the short attention span that most people have nowadays, for sure.
We got stuff to do.
Yeah, we got post read, people. We got to get to it. I love it. That's great advice. There was actually, and you want to be weary of this because I did have someone that I loved their post, but it always took me a couple of tries to read it because they would make everything bold. Everything was bold on their post. And it wasn't just a header, it wasn't just a title, it was just, they wanted to emphasize everything that they said, so they emphasized everything that they said. And it was good information, and I really liked it, but it was so hard to get through because it was just so ugly, to put it in other words. And thankfully, they were kind enough to take my advice, and they did it a lot less, and it was like night and day. I was like, I don't know if this is going to increase your readers, I don't know if this is going to change anything. But for what it's worth, it just looks 1,000 times better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
and especially if people are reading on phones, you've maybe got a paragraph or two, and then it just looks like a whole screen of text.
This is true. This is very true. And I don't know if they formatted it specifically to look like that, but you just want to keep in mind that the way you write it on Steemit, they try to match it as much as possible on your phone, and it doesn't always look the same, but it gets pretty close. So you just want to think that a lot of people nowadays look at it on your phone. They're not in front of a computer reading it. So formatting matters.
I've heard from a lot of Asian users that they like 95%, it's all on their phone.
Really?
Yep.
So they type it up and everything's on their phone?
Amazingly, somehow. I'd go crazy.
Yeah, you and I both. That sounds like a madhouse. I don't know if I'd ever want to do that. I've typed post before on my phone and even formatted it, and it took twice as long and drove me absolutely insane. So I don't necessarily recommend it for everyone. But Psycho Chica, what I wanted to know from you is you've been on the platform for quite a bit of time now. How has your formatting from when you first started changed from how it is now?
When I go back and look at my first posts, it's very much an oh my god sort of feeling, like I actually did that.
Like why?
So it does take time to just kind of start getting the posts in and finding those little things of, okay, let's break it up. Let's put the pictures. Like for me, I use those page dividers. Mm-hmm. I'm actually in the process of spiffing up my sign off because I still had the Steam Verify button on there that no one knows what it is anymore. So I've got some banners that I'm commissioning right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, not as many people are into that. Like there was a couple. I remember when I first started, I saw it quite a bit, and I was like, "What is that? Why do people use that?" Or some people use, every time you accomplish something, you get that Steemit Board Award. I've had people copy or cut a picture and put that at the bottom, which I thought was pretty cool, but it doesn't always seem relevant.
It depends on what you're going for. Like some people, they're looking to support, look at what I've done. Others are trying to pitch communities or discords. It's just kind of finding what it is that you're trying to do, highlight, and who you're trying to support if that's included in there.
Absolutely. Now, what would you recommend for people whom, although a picture is horizontal or although it's at the right size, sometimes when you post, the image that people see isn't exactly what you thought it would be. So how do you recommend they know or format that first picture to be the perfect size so that way when they click post, the little thumbnail that shows up at its best quality?
It's been a little while. I'd have to double check it, but I believe the dimensions it's going for are about 800 wide by 600 tall. or some proportion in there. If you make it too tiny, it'll even look grainy in the thumbnail. So that's usually what I recommend, 800 wide, 600 height.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually will then fit in the box very nicely. Or if it's at least the main focus is centered on the image, a lot of times it'll crop it like you're wanting to.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. That's news to me. Sometimes I always just guesstimate. I'll think of pictures that have worked in the past or that haven't, and I'll know not to use that as my first one because when I click post, it just doesn't format it correctly, or it just caps a portion of it and not the whole thing. So,
if you're ever really worried, you can always go back to a post that's like 5 or 6 days old that's about to kind of roll over and test it out in the first image there, because it's literally most people aren't looking a week back anyway. Get the one you want, and then put the old picture back in, and then put it in your new one so you know it's cropped the way you want.
that is really good advice, actually. I like that. Usually what I do is I'll look at my previous post and I'll edit it so I can copy all the formattings that I had on that one and just paste it into the new one so I can use it as a reference. And that way I don't have to go searching for a Google Doc if I'm not already there.
Well, and don't be afraid to, resize images.
What do you use to resize?
I've used various things. Imager worked really well for me because that's where I put all my stuff to upload up until recently. But even just like opening up Paint on your Windows computer can resize it to whatever you want and maintain those proportions.
Interesting.
And it's free.
Even better. My 2 favorite words. Image optimize. Yep, see that Bucky Durrell uses the same one as well, which is really neat. I had a friend who sent me a link to download this image editor for it, but they told me that it would take longer to download the image editor than playing with it on Image. So everyone uses something slightly different. I don't like to mess with the size of the image too much because to me that's really frustrating. I much rather play with the coding on where it's going to move on the page. But if you have the patience or if you want to play with that, there's certain options for that as well. Now, what is something, Psycho Chica, that you noticed on the platform that you wish people would do less of when they are formatting their post?
This sounds kind of easy, but one of the biggest ones that gets me is just when things aren't centered. I know it sounds, but I don't know. It's just so non-appealing to me when I see everything shoved to the left. It's not a huge deal, and I don't bang anybody for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that stands out for me.
Interesting. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. How about people who always use the same image for their first picture? Do you know anyone like that?
I've seen mixed results like that. I actually was running a multi-part, what was I calling it, Steamtopia way back when, and I was using the same photo over and over. And what I found, it doesn't bug me, but what I found was happening was a lot of people were seeing my posts, especially when they would just see that thumbnail in like Discord or if they included it on Steemit chat, and they would think they already voted for it. Like they just wouldn't notice the part 2. I've seen some people, especially fiction writers, where it's a multi-part thing where it works very well. Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of find how it works for your audience and the topic that you write about. For me, I found it to be a hindrance.
Interesting. I kind of see it similarly, where if it's not a series of, for example, of a story, then I kind of think I already read it or I already upvoted it and commented, and I kind of skip over it. I have this one reader that I always look at their posts and I have to always go back and read it again because they always use the same picture. And every time I see that picture, it kind of turns me off because I was like, oh, I already read that one, because I associate the picture with the post. And similarly, if someone uses the free websites where you can find images and someone else uses that same picture, I always assume that they stole it from that person. I was like, you can't use that. That belongs to so-and-so on their post. So I guess everyone kind of associates differently, but the big picture of it all is they do associate it some way, somehow, to what you're writing. So if you are doing a series and you do decide to use the same picture, be weary that some people may not always follow along or realize that it's not the same post or that you are doing something special, for example, a series or a continuous thing for it. I don't recommend using the same photo for all your posts just because, like I said, I sometimes forget that I hadn't read their post and I see the picture and I just assume that I have. So, but again, do what's best for you and what your readers respond well to, and maybe it will work for you and you'll prove us all wrong as well. Now, Secretary, have you ever used a YouTube video or a GIF as your main picture or the first picture to show up?
I have before. The YouTube videos, unless they fixed it, they didn't tend to work.
Interesting.
So I would actually use a GIF or a separate image first, so I could still get that thumbnail in there. It's been a long time since I've tested this, though. The GIFs you can do, they just don't animate when they're in the list view or in Discord. They do animate when you open the post. So as long as you're okay with that, not a problem. But the videos, make sure that it's actually presenting the way you want, because I've seen it give just gray screens before, and then people just see it as broken and don't think anything of it.
Interesting. I wonder if that is still the case, because I don't think I've ever used a YouTube or a GIF as my first image, but I always add a thumbnail to the images I do use, so I don't know if that makes a difference. So for example, if the YouTube video is the first thing that people will see as the image, there's always a thumbnail for it, so I know it shows up a little bit clearer. So I guess it's one of those things you just have to play with and see what works for you and what it looks like. And the nice thing is you have 6 days and 23 hours to edit it before it pays out and you can never edit it again. So you've mentioned that when you look at post and you see everything to one side, that's not the most appealing thing in your mind. What is something that you see that you love that format or writers do when they're formatting their post?
I mean, for me, again, the big thing is kind of that scalability or scannability. I like it when things are broken up every 2-3 paragraphs, maybe 4 at the most. Like walls of text, kind of like you had mentioned before, are like the bane of my existence. It's so hard to get me to keep going through them because you just keep scrolling. You don't know how long it's going to go.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one. I was like, I'm so sorry if that's you, but I just can't. And when I first started on Steemit, I would actually skim it till the very end, read the last paragraph, and then read backwards to see if it was even something I'd be interested in. So that way, if it wasn't, I was like, oh well, I've already made it to the end. So, but
the biggest thing that I kind of recommend, and I know this is a little outside formatting, is because of the likelihood that people are going to scan your posts after they start going through it, really focus on those first 2 paragraphs being super strong. Check those for typos, check those for things that don't make sense. If you don't get the rest of it, at least get those first 2 paragraphs.
Boom. That is excellent advice. And how long on average do you spend on your post?
Sorry, you broke up. You said, how long do I spend on my posts?
Yeah, how long on average do you spend on your post from writing to formatting?
It's shortened a lot since I started. When I first came on, I would go anywhere to 4-6 hours on my posts, and I would be really, really anal. I've toned down on that just because of my own time commitments. So nowadays, I'd say my longer guides maybe take 2 hours.
Nice. I guess I didn't realize, but it was pretty much the same for me. I would spend a really long time in the beginning writing it. And now it still takes me about 2 to 4 hours to write a post, depending if I have the idea in place or not. And then it takes me roughly within that same time frame, 2 hours of it is just formatting. That's probably where I spend the bulk of my time. And we actually have a couple of free giveaways to give to you guys today. Surprise! at the end of the class today. So if you are interested in learning more about formatting, go ahead and send me a DM, and I will actually send you a coupon to where you can take a free class offered by one of our lovely minnows, where he has created a how to markdown, and it takes you kind of step by step on everything that I've talked about today, on the rules, the options, and you can kind of practice. So it gives you different options for you to utilize as well. This is one of the links that I use to sign up for it. I'm terrible because I haven't finished my course yet, but it is phenomenal, and it will teach you a ton, teach you everything that we talked about today. And it is free with the coupons that I have. I only have a couple. I think I have about 6. So if you are interested in learning more and you would like to take the class, feel free to DM me. If you right click on my name, no, I think even if you click on it, hold on, let me try this on somebody else. If you right click on my name and you click message, you can send me a message and I will send you that coupon to take the class. And then I will just let the individual who created this know that you took the class. That way he can kind of keep track of how many left. And once we use up all 6, hopefully he'll give me a couple more. But tell your friends to let me know if they are interested as well, or if you know a newcomer who's really struggling with formatting or would like to know more. It is a little bit lengthy because it goes into details and it allows you to practice different things, but it's awesome. And once you get through it, you will feel a lot more comfortable formatting your post. So, Psycho Chica, I know that you do a couple of giveaways too. So if you're looking to give away, I will hoard 1 or 2 for you. So you let me know if anyone is interested, and I'll send you some as well.
Sounds good.
Oh.
But all I got going now is giving away at least 25 Steam in about an hour in Steemit chat, just for random trivia.
Very cool. And I hear that that's coming up. You're doing that soon, aren't you?
I'm about to put up a post letting everyone know it's starting in an hour. I just wanted to make sure I caught the show first.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, and I thank you so much for being here today. Any last-minute words of wisdom you would like to share with the class before I have you have a seat?
Don't get overwhelmed. Just learn one little bit each day and give it a month, and you will be a master at your formatting.
You said it best. Thank you so much, Psycho Chica. I'm going to go ahead and put you back in the audience. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I am honored that you took the time to come and listen to the show.
I appreciate the invite.
Anytime. So that was Psycho Chica. I had shared her post with you guys earlier. Go ahead and make sure to check her out. She is phenomenal. She does a ton of contests and little giveaways. She's doing it mostly on Steemit chat and not here on Discord, but you can find her popping in here every once in a while as well. And class, that is all that I have today. You are dismissed. The show isn't over yet, but I'm just going to end my recording here. I appreciate you all. My name is Miss Elizabeth, and I'm your pink professor. Thanks for staying tuned. And do your homework, folks, and submit it because you might just win a prize.